this video, we are going over subtracting rational numbers. So before we get into the subtracting, let's first go over what is a rational number. So a rational number is any number that can be written as a ratio or fraction. And then if you note here, it actually has ratio in the name of it. And so if we look at some examples of this, you got 3/4, 99 over 100, negative 99 over 100, a whole number like 7, and then you can assume that you could just write a phantom 1 under that as a ratio, and then even a decimal ratio of 0.45 over 1. Those are all numbers that can be written as ratios or fractions and are therefore rational numbers. Another definition of a rational number is that it's a real number whose decimal expansion is finite or it repeats in a pattern. So you can have 2, which is implied again at 2.0 0 there. 5.4, just one decimal, negative 42.679, again it ends at the 9, 12.3, and if you have this little dash over it, that means the 3 is repeating, but again, that's a pattern of just constant 3s, or you could have something like 6.72 with that 7.2 repeating, so the repeating infinitely is okay, but it has to be in a pattern to be a rational number. So now that we're comfortable with rational numbers, let's go over subtracting rational numbers. So if we have our number line here with 0 in the middle, and then we got negative infinity on the left and positive infinity on the right, it is important to note that when you subtract any number, you move left on the number line. So you could just subtract a small number or a big number, but you're still going to be going in the left direction towards negative infinity on the number line. And here's a little TurtlEd tactic here is, if you think about it in terms of dollars, it sometimes makes it easier. So if you think of positive infinity is towards richer and negative infinity is towards poorer, so you either gained or lost dollars. So let's do some examples here. So we got 7 minus 5. So in this process, first, you're going to find your starting point. So we're starting at positive 7. So we're going to mark that right here. And then we're subtracting 5. So that means we move 5 spots left on the number line, or if you think about it in terms of dollars, you lost $5. So we're just going to move 5 spots over, and then we're going to move our point those 5 spots over, and now we are land at 2. So we know that 7 minus 5 is going to equal 2. Let's do another example here. So we got negative 12 minus 8. So first find your starting point. So we got negative 12 is the starting point. So find negative 12 on our number line there. And then we are going to subtract 8. So that means we move left 8 spots, or if you think about it in terms of dollars, we lost $8. So we're going to move 8 spots to the left, and then we're going to move our point with that. So we end up at negative 20. So negative 12 minus 8 is going to leave us at negative 20. Let's do 2 more examples here. So here we have 1 minus a minus 6. And the key here is this minus a minus 6, which we call double negatives. So before we do this problem, first we got to go over a few things with double negatives. So double negatives occur when you are subtracting a negative number. So 6 minus a minus 3, negative 2 minus a minus 5. Sometimes it is written in parentheses. So if you have 8 minus a minus 11 or negative 9 minus a minus 7, those are all double negatives. One thing to note, and one point of confusion for some students, is double negatives are not a negative number subtracting a positive number. So they see 2 negatives and they think double negative, but it has to be subtracting a negative number. So if you have negative 6 minus 7, that is not a double negative because that's a negative subtracting a positive. If you have negative 25 minus 10, also not a double negative. Negative 1 minus 9, these are all not double negatives. So it's important to keep that in mind, what is not a double negative as well, so you don't get confused. So here's the rule when it comes to double negatives. When you are dealing with them, you turn them into addition. So a 3 minus a minus 4, you're just going to turn that into 3 plus 4, which is going to give you 7. So for all these examples here, what I like to do is just cross out the double negatives and make an addition right through it. So 6 plus 3. And then we're going to turn this into instead of a minus 5, we're just going to turn it into a plus 5, which gives us positive 3. We're going to turn that into a plus 11, and then a plus 7 right here. So before we get back into the examples, let's first recap the difference between subtracting positive numbers and subtracting negative numbers, also known as double negatives. So when subtracting positive numbers, think about it as you lose money, which means you move left on the number line towards negative infinity, like you're losing more money, so you're moving left on the number line. When you subtract negative numbers, think about it like you're losing debt. So because you're losing debt, you actually gain money, meaning you move right on the number line towards positive infinity, because when you remove debt, you actually gain money. So you're going to move right on the number line when subtracting negative numbers, also known as double negatives. So let's get back into those examples here. So 1 minus a minus 6, we see that double negatives, we're instantly going to turn that into addition, and now we can start. So we find our starting point, which is 1, and now it is a plus 6, so we're actually going to move towards positive infinity. So we're going to move right 6 spots. And that's going to leave us at 7. So 1 minus a minus 6 turns into 1 plus 6, which is going to give us 7. Let's do one last example here. So we have negative 2 minus a minus 5. So instantly you see that minus a minus 5, and we're going to turn that into addition, and now we can get started. So find our starting point of negative 2. So negative 2 is right over here. And now we're going to be adding 5, or moving towards positive infinity. So we're going to move to the right 5 spots. It's like we gain $5. And now we're going to move our point along this path. And we end up at 3. So we know that 2 minus a minus 5 is going to give us 3. So that is everything you need to know about subtracting rational numbers. If you found this video helpful and you're interested in learning more about TurtlEd, visit us at www.withturtled.com.